Today's top stories. MMDA will strictly implement the provincial bus ban along EDSA starting April 22. Malacanang maintains vetoed budget items were unconstitutional. The Army spoils a plan by the New People's Army to attack a mega dam project in Iloilo. And an international journalist group lauds the accomplishment of the Presidential Task Force on Media Security.
Good day, I am Miguel Hill and welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Malacanang reiterates the government's commitment to ensure public safety this Holy Week. It calls on the public to cooperate and comply with heightened security measures to maintain peace and order. Rom Dulfo tells us more.
Public safety will be the government's top priority this Lenten season. Malacanang gave this assurance as concerned government agencies are placed on heightened alert status to ensure the safety and security this Holy Week. Presidential spokesperson Sal Panelo says these include additional security deployments in bus terminals, airports, seaports, government and private installations, churches, malls, and other public recreation areas. The Philippine National Police already deployed 11,600 policemen in Metro Manila and set up more than 4,500 assistance desks across the country. The Department of Transportation already launched its Oplan Biyaheng Ayos Semana Santa 2019 to provide a convenient and safe commuting experience for all passengers. Meantime, the MMDA deployed around 1,500 traffic personnel to assist travelers during the week-long break. Panelo reminds everyone that Lent is a time for reflection, solidarity, and remembrance of the sacrifice and humility of Jesus Christ. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
Commuters will no longer be able to ride provincial buses along EDSA except in designated terminals after the Holy Week. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, will strictly implement the provincial bus ban along EDSA and other major roads in Metro Manila starting April 22. MMDA General Manager Jojo Garcia says provincial buses must only use their designated terminals in picking up and dropping off passengers. Bus operators will be obliged to use the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange and the interim bus terminals in Valenzuela City and Santa Rosa, Laguna. MMDA is eyeing to remove all 47 bus terminals along EDSA by June. The Philippines will take legal action against China over its alleged mass harvesting of giant clams in Scarborough Shoal. In his Twitter post, Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin Jr. says the DFA has filed a diplomatic note and will be taking legal action regarding the environmental destruction of Chinese dredging in the area. In a television interview, Locsin affirmed that all verified activities in the contested West Philippine Sea, including past reports of environmental devastation in Scarborough, has never slipped through the government. Locsin said the issue is now with the agency's Office of Treaties and Legal Affairs. The national government is exerting all efforts to ensure a peaceful and orderly conduct of the May 13 midterm elections. Top officials of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Philippine National Police, and Commission on Elections met in Camp Aguinaldo to fine-tune all coordination and security plans for the upcoming polls. AFP Chief of Staff General Benjamin Madrigal says monitoring of the elections will be done through the National Joint Security Coordination Center. Madrigal and the PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde and COMELEC Chairman Sherif Abbas also drafted a delegation of tasks to participating military and police personnel to prevent acts of terrorism and other threats. The National Food Authority plans to buy more rice as a buffer stock, and Senator Panfilo Lacson expresses support for localized peace talks with communist rebels. More on this and other news around the Metro from Janice Cave.
The National Food Authority plans to buy more rice from farmers as it focuses its mandate on replenishing buffer stocks. The NFA needs at least 15 to 30 million sacks of rice to sustain a buffer stock that will last for 15 to 30 days. The agency is buying palay from farmers at 20 pesos per kilo with additional incentives for selling farmer cooperatives. Meanwhile, campaigning is strictly prohibited on Monday, Thursday, and Good Friday. Giving of t-shirts, bottled water, or fans bearing the picture or name of candidates are not allowed and may be considered as vote buying. Faithfuls are reminded not to wear campaign t-shirts inside churches during the Holy Week. In other news, Senator Panfilo Lacson expressed support for the holding of localized peace talks. He says local officials should lead the peace talks and reach out to local communist groups so that the military can focus on areas threatened by the NPA. He says Joma Sison no longer has control of the NPA as it continues its attacks contrary to Sison's calls for a ceasefire. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Still to come, Malacanang maintains that the vetoed budget items were unconstitutional. The Army spoils a plan by the New People's Army to attack a mega dam project in Iloilo. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
I think we managed to achieve a tremendous progress. A new chapter was opened in the history of our bilateral relations due to a new policy pursued by His Excellency President Notre. First of all, I would like to emphasize that I strongly believe that Russia and the Philippines deserve to be reliable partners and close friends, objectively speaking. We did a lot to build a new solid legal basis for our cooperation on different tracks in different fields. Because unfortunately, we have never been close friends. And that's why our legal basis is not really sufficient to improve our relationship. I have already spent 4 years in your country, and that's why I have a right to state that the Philippines is a safe country, except for a very, very few regions. But as a country, the Philippines is safe. It's a beautiful country, very interesting, as I have just said. The Filipinos are very friendly and hospitable people. So this country has a great, huge economic potential. So there are all necessary preconditions for developing, establishing new partnership and friendship with this country. And all people should visit the Philippines at least one time in their life.
First of all, on behalf of the Russian Embassy to the Philippines, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to PCO Global Media for helping and assisting us to arrange the first ever media night tonight. So we were deeply impressed by the support that was done by the PCO Global Media. Thank you very much. Thank GV and all his team for everything that you have done. Thank you.
Malacanang maintains that 95.3 billion pesos worth of appropriations vetoed under the national budget signed by President Rodrigo Duterte on Monday are unconstitutional. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo was referring to the last-minute insertions made by the House of Representatives to the final version of the budget bill. Panelo says the insertions are not part of the program of the Department of Public Works and Highways. He said the president's decision to veto provisions in the 2019 budget is a show of his strong stand against any form of corruption.
I have said in my statement, those vetoed provisions are in violation of the Constitution, or it is against certain statutes. That was also the statement made by the president. They are in violation of the Constitution, whether you call it pork or beef or meat or fish. Those provisions are violative of the basic charter.
Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez III hailed the signing into law of the 3.7 trillion peso 2019 national budget. Dominguez cited the national budget's importance towards attaining sustained growth of the Philippine economy. Earlier, finance officials said the delay in the approval of this year's budget resulted in the non-disbursement of about 43.7 billion pesos intended for public goods and services as of last February. Delay in the approval of the budget is also seen to hit domestic growth, with several institutions deciding to cut their growth forecasts for the economy this year. Some economists remain optimistic of a 6% level growth for the domestic economy given the government's massive infrastructure program. Stricter security measures are now being implemented at the Clark International Airport in line with the government's Oplan Biyaheng Ayos Semana Santa 2019. Oplan Biyaheng Ayos is an initiative of the DOTR to ensure the safety and comfort of passengers, especially in light of the influx of travelers this Lenten season. Clark International Airport Corporation assures the public of continued power supply, availability of vital airport equipment, and emergency services. They also put up an Oplan help desk inside the terminal. Passengers are advised to travel early, especially with the anticipated heavy traffic at North Luzon Expressway and Subic-Clark-Tarlac Expressway. Chewing and spitting moma or betel nut is a practice among Cordillerans, but the Department of Transportation wants public utility vehicle drivers in the region to stop the tradition. DOTR says some drivers have shown lack of discipline by chewing betel nut while driving. It says spitting moma does not only litter streets, it can also transmit contagious diseases. To preserve the image of professionalism among PUV drivers and ensure passenger safety and convenience, DOTR Cordillera is imposing a fine of 6,000 pesos if PUV drivers are found chewing moma while on duty. The public is encouraged to report drivers who chew betel nut and spit moma on duty. Mount Apo in Davao City is still closed for trekking. Meanwhile, the army spoils the plan of communist terrorists to attack a mega dam project in Iloilo. Janice Cave has a story.
In Davao City, the DENR is deploying personnel to guard the trails of Mount Apo as it reminds trekkers that the mountain is closed to visitors. Trekking, climbing, camping, and other activities are prohibited while El Niño is in effect, which may cause forest fires similar to what happened during the Holy Week in 2016. Those who booked for trips to Mount Apo may ask for a refund or a rescheduling. Meanwhile, the Armed Forces of the Philippines spoiled the plan of the New People's Army to conduct harassment at the Halaur River Multipurpose Project 2 in Calinog, Iloilo. Around 10 rebels at Masaroy village allegedly planned to ambush and burn the equipment at the site. The encounter led to the capture of one of the regular NPA members and the seizure of assorted firearms and documents. The Army assured its security operations will continue this Holy Week. In Pangasinan, the Weather Bureau Pagasa says the dry spell is not yet over even amid the cloudy skies and light to moderate rains in the province. Pagasa says Pangasinan continues to experience below the normal amounts of rainfall. Residents are advised to bring umbrellas and drink lots of water, especially those going out this Holy Week. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Up next, an international journalist group lauds the accomplishment of the Presidential Task Force on Media Security. A penitent ventures to Pampanga to be crucified for the 33rd time. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
There have been many false reports in the international media and foreign audiences. They've been bombarded with stories which have no basis in fact nor in law, especially regarding the drug war and many other issues. It appears that media, the biased ones, would focus on stories which have negative impact on our government. But the fact of the matter is This administration of the president has so many accomplishments. This program of yours is a good opportunity to, like any program that has an international audience, to present the true state of the nation of this country. The unblemished truth, and not the false stories, the false narratives that have reached them. And unfortunately, they believe hook, line, and sinker.
UNESCO and the Committee to Protect Journalists, or CPJ, expressed satisfaction with the work being done by the Presidential Task Force on Media Security. Task Force Executive Director Joel C. Egco discussed with officials of the CPJ and UNESCO the accomplishments they made in less than 3 years after its creation. According to Egco, the Philippines remained at its previous ranking of number 5 in its 2018 Global Impunity Index. He says the Reporters Without Borders delisted the Philippines from the top 5 most dangerous countries in the world for journalists on November 2018. Egco reiterated his promise to resign if the perpetrators of the 2019 Maguindanao massacre will not be convicted. Out of the 58 victims in the November 23, 2009 Maguindanao massacre, 32 were media workers covering the filing of a certificate of candidacy of Ismael Mangudadatu, who was then challenging Andal Unsay Ampotuan Jr. for the gubernatorial post. CPJ Asia Program Coordinator Dr. Stephen Butler, CPJ Board Chair Kathleen Carroll, and UNESCO Chair in Journalism and Communication Professor Peter Grest vowed to keep in touch with the PTFoMS for developments in Philippine journalism. In our foreign news, messages of solidarity are pouring into France as people mourned the destruction of the iconic Notre Dame Cathedral. The fire that broke at Notre Dame has been fully extinguished after 15 hours. French businessmen François-Henri Pinault and Bernard Arnault pledged a total of 300 million euros to help the reconstruction of Notre Dame. French charity foundation Du Patrimoine is launching an international appeal for funds for the UNESCO World Heritage Site. Russian President Vladimir Putin, Spanish Culture Minister Jose Guirao, and the British government have also expressed willingness to help. Pope Francis expressed his closeness to the people of France as he offered his prayers. Meanwhile, presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo praised Notre Dame as a symbol of Catholicism and architectural treasure. He says Malacanang wishes France the best as they rebuild the cathedral. In sports, after being roasted in the past 2 games, Magnolia Pambansang Manok pushed back rain or shine Elasto Painters to take the Game 3 of the PBA Philippine Cup semifinals. The Hotshots finished with a big lead after struggling to catch up with the Elasto Painters. Ian Sanggalang made 16 points and 11 rebounds. Paul Lee also finished with 16 markers, while Rafi Rivas and Gio Halalon and Mark Baroka pulled down at least 10 rebounds. JV Mocon paced the losing side with 18 points and 9 rebounds. The Hotshots and the E-Painters will resume their semi-showdown Monday. Earlier, the San Miguel Beermen banked on a huge endgame push to edge Phoenix Fuel Masters 92-82 in Game 2 of their semi-final series. Marshall Lassiter made 24 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists for SMB, which now leads 2-0. Calvin Abueva put up 16 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks for Phoenix. A highlight of Holy Week in the Philippines is the Sinaculo, the most famous of which is the one held in San Pedro Cutod, Pampanga. A well-known penitent tells us what inspired him to offer his body to the cross every year. Here's our report.
For the 33rd time since 1986, well-known Filipino penitent Ruben Inahe will be nailed to a cross on Good Friday. Enaje says he was up and ready to be crucified again to fulfill the vow he made more than 3 decades ago. In 1985, Enaje slipped and fell while painting a 3-story building. As he fell down, he called out to God and soon found himself on the ground, conscious and uninjured. Since then, he devoted Good Friday every year to having himself crucified as his expression of self-sacrifice and gratitude to the Lord Jesus Christ. The site of the crucifixion is in Burol, a man-made hill in Barangay San Pedro Cutud, some 3 kilometers from San Fernando City, Pampanga. San Pedro Cutud is popular to pilgrims local and foreign alike because of the cenaculo, or the reenactment of Christ's passion and death. Despite the church objection, quite a handful still practice the ritual that has attracted many people. What is intriguing, and even Enaje could not explain, is that there are no scars on his palms and feet from the nails that pierced him. Whether this is another miracle of the Lord for Enaje to thank for is a different story. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Gigi Arcilia Agtay.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories.
MMDA will strictly implement the provincial bus ban along EDSA starting April 22. Malacanang maintains vetoed budget items were unconstitutional. The Army spoils a plan by the New People's Army to attack a mega dam project in Iloilo. And an international journalist group lauds the accomplishment of the Presidential Task Force on Media Security.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook or Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I am Miguel Hill. Good day.